So we built a stormwater management system to handle the whole base, and so it resulted in not only accomplishing an environmentally sound project, but resulted in some very nice lakes, as you well know.
Oh yeah, magnificent. Sure, sure.
And the other thing that we did to enhance things in the local area was having property set aside to the city for parks and recreation.
Oh yes.
All of the recreational facilities we felt should go to the city, and they did. The ball fields, the gymnasium, the recreation center as an example.
Yes.
All of that got transferred to the city at no cost, because our view was that this benefits the whole community, having those facilities operated by the city, and it would ensure that they would be maintained properly and enhanced over the years. And in fact, the gymnasium, we just gave the city, I think it was about $2 million for rehabilitation of that.
The Crabtree Gym.
Crabtree Gym. The city is putting money into that project, and Mayor Rhodes was successful in getting some of the businesses to throw money into that project. So it'll be about a $5 or $6 million project that's going to result in a first-class gymnasium.
There's another great base recreation center there that has really been upfitted.
Yes, we helped finance that base recreation center and turned it into a first-class facility.
I'm almost sorry, even though, of course, it's thrilling to be here at Santee Cooper, I'm almost sorry that we're not filming on the air base today, but of course we don't have that nice Air Base Redevelopment Authority office that you all would have your meetings in, either quarterly or monthly. How often were the meetings?
We initially used to meet weekly because of the amount of business we had to do. Those then went to sort of bi-weekly, then monthly, and now we meet only at the call of the chairman when some issue comes up.
Right.
There are very few issues left. The property's been sold. There are a few contracts to be finished up, and some monies to be paid for those.
Sure. And some of those holdups, as I think Harold talked about last week, Harold Stowe last week, are some environmental issues, oftentimes some slight environmental issues.
Under the base closure law, the Air Force has to return to the community an environmentally safe, sound, pure base, if you will.
Right.
And there were 2 or 3 areas that were polluted. Not bad, but it requires a length of time to remediate, what the Air Force calls remediating the pollution. And so until that's all done and the Air Force decides they're free and clear of pollution, then we can get the property. But we do have buyers for those.
Good, yes.
Once they're clean.
Has there not been a local Air Force base or Air Force representative? Is it Dick Souza?
Dick Souza.
Sure, that you all have interfaced with?
Yes, he was the last Air Force representative here overseeing the environmental work.
Okay.
After that work got underway and was a matter of just letting it finish out, he retired, and the Air Force office in Washington is doing the wrap-up on that. So.
Right. Well, we think about all the folks, and of course for myself, having leased and then purchased a facility, the former air base or training facility, the Air Flight Simulator, Building 368, and to think about all the tremendous folks that you had in the office there, whether Sandra or Bill or Betty Ballou, of course, who's still there, and Fred Glover and Julie Dussault, the great folks that you all interfaced with on a regular basis, along with Buddy Stiers, the executive director, who's been with us a number of times. You really had a great crew there on site.
We had a superb staff, and they stayed with us. And that was important, having the continuity and the stability of the staff.
Right.
And, that helped us get the job done much better. Must give credit also to the city planning staff. The city planning staff worked closely with us to devise a development plan that would result in a town center. They stayed focused. We stayed focused on that, despite being pulled in various directions.
Right.
And it's now paying off.
Oh, yeah, very definitely. Harold talked about Jack Walker last week,
Jack,
who would he have ever imagined 15 years ago that a Dan McCaffrey would come on the scene, albeit somebody like that was his ultimate dream.
Yes, because we hired a company in Atlanta to market us, to try to attract that kind of development. They weren't very successful. I must give credit to Gary Roberts of Shakora.
Yes.
for his efforts in finding a developer such as McCaffrey.
Oh, yeah.
That could come in and do what we wanted done and what the city wanted done. And so my hat's off to Gary.
A big kudos to Gary. And of course, I guess, was Gary involved also in helping whether Santee Cooper or some of the others divest of those properties? Or
Yes, he was. He was very, I think he was probably the lead real estate broker in that process, too. So
I'd like to be in on that commission. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. He worked very hard,
yes,
obviously,
he did.
to find groups like
Yes.
Leucadia or McCaffrey to come in and make that happen. It's very exciting.
Yes, he deserves a lot of credit.
You know what? Go ahead, please.
I was going to say one other project that I'm proud of that I'm involved in. The city planners asked us to, if we could come up with a way to preserve the history of the base.
Yes.
And Jack Walker took the lead, and one of his planners, Diane Moscow McKenzie,
Of course.
is the project officer. And they asked me if I would form a little committee. So I have a committee of about 5 individuals working with me. And what we've done, we've identified the key history of the base starting from 1941, when Mayor Harrelson was mayor. He was instrumental in getting the property set aside for a base and carrying that history all the way through to the present. How we're going to present the history of the base is through a series of signs. And I think we have 160 signs that commemorate the history and commemorate the individuals who were part of that history throughout the base's tenure. So that'll be a very interesting project, and people can walk throughout the base.
Oh, great.
And find out the history of the base, what happened here, who was involved. Streets will be named after people who have contributed to the base in one way or the other.
Yes, yes. And of course, a lot of those streets have already been named. I'm so glad you mentioned that. We've only got 3 or 4 minutes. Time has been flying. But as you think about some of those names, and I hate to say it, I want to say there's a Reed Boulevard or a Reed Street.
I think there is a Reed Street, of which I had nothing to do with.
Of course, sure.
But there is
Farrow and Eugene,
Farrow,
Shine.
Shine Avenue. Shine was, of course, a combat casualty. Farrow was from World War II. He flew in the hump in World War II. Very dangerous mission.
How about Crabtree, the gym? Was that?
Yes, Crabtree was a civilian employee, civil service employee at the base.
Right.
He ran the base recreation program. Long time individual, long time head of that. And he died one day at his desk from a heart attack.
Is that right?
And to honor him, the gym was named after him.
That's wonderful. Any other names that really strike out in the last couple of minutes that you think
Gabreski
about?
was the first, one of the first wing commanders.
Right.
And of course, he's an ace in World War II, ace in the Korean War, and he has a street, of course, named after him.
Right.
And as we name each street, we build a sign with a picture of the individual, and we tell the individual and what his significance is to the base.
Absolutely.
We found in our research ex-astronauts had served at the base. John Rosa, who is president of Citadel, was a captain in one of the squadrons when I was wing commander here, and he went on to become a 3-star general and now is president of Citadel. So those kinds of people we will honor with street names and with signs and have them placed strategically throughout the base.
That is fantastic. And we think about Farrow Parkway and the excitement as folks join it there at Ocean Boulevard, the former front gate, and into the terminus there, which I guess is the beginning for a lot of folks there at the former back gate, a magnificent 4-lane, no lights yet, but I suspect whether it's Shine, as you think about the Myrtle Beach Police Training Facility. Tommy Chestnut, who was with us last week, said it's starting to get a little crowded there with Coastal Carolina Association of Realtors and Tofino's itself, whether Shine or others.
And don't forget also the first-class fire station that was built there, which we helped finance to give fire protection to that whole area out there.
It is a magnificent facility. I think we could spend 20 minutes just naming some of the great businesses that have shown up out there. And, of course, y'all's ultimate goal was to replace the jobs lost.
That's correct, yes. And we will far exceed the number of jobs that were lost when the base closed, when all of the construction gets done and completed. And we're very pleased with McCaffrey. That's a first-class operation, and will result, I think, in the place in Myrtle Beach once it's completed.
Very definitely. As you look back on the last 13 years and your involvement since joining as a founding member, what's been the most exciting aspect for you, General Reed?
Probably the most exciting one was finally getting a development plan approved, and then finding a company that could take that plan and make it a reality. And once we achieved that, that to us, to me, and I think to most of the board members, was really an outstanding day.
Absolutely.
And so we have to, I think, regard that as the principal act of the authority. I wanted to say a word, too, about the base housing. We commented earlier about that. And give credit to David Douglas for what he did there in bringing those houses up to standard and now converting them into condos.
Absolutely. He and Woody and the whole crew, all the folks involved. Thank you again, General Reed. I'm sorry we've run out of time. There's so many more things. We'll have to get you back. I hope we can get you back another time.
Well, I enjoyed it very much.
Absolutely. Stay tuned to more Carolina Feet with General Bob Reed coming up next. Did you think you'd wake up this morning with a 4-star general? I sure didn't. Think about the excitement there 32 years ago when Bob Reed was arriving at what's now the former Myrtle Beach Air Force Base as a colonel 32 years ago, and the excitement just 12 years after that when he left the Air Force, and to think there were a little more than a dozen 4-star generals at that time, now a little less than a dozen. The excitement of someone who's been involved, but to see the Air Base back in '75 and now to see it 32 years later, the excitement for so many. When I arrived in Myrtle Beach, we were hearing about Michael Jackson and the Isle of America. That's all I was hearing about the Air Base. Thank the Lord that didn't come to pass, because the excitement to see now Faro Parkway rolling through and all the people coming out and celebrating names like Jack Walker and Buddy Stiers and Bob Reed and Gabreski and even Grissom and Carol Campbell, all the names, Harold Stowe, that have really made a difference and continue to make a difference every day out on the former Myrtle Beach Air Force Base.